Steve's got great stories of him of just being principled and a leader, like just a leader, not so much yelling, screaming, and profanity, and but just led with character and toughness, and again, going back to our freshman year, I mean, to have people on your team that are like that, that's invaluable.
Welcome to the Know Your Ship podcast, presented by eHub. I'm your host, Frank Dolce. The one and only Jim Herrmann. Was your nickname in college the Hermanator? And why not?
It grew into that.
It did.
Yeah. It started as just good old Herm.
Just Herm.
And then it was the Hermanator. And then it was Nader. And then it's variations. I'm just going to say one thing before we get started.
Do it.
Or maybe we have.
We're starting.
These seats, and maybe it's because I'm tall, but I feel like I'm doing just an ab workout right now.
I do too.
I'm just like,
I know. I feel like it too. Does it look like we're doing that?
Because I feel like if I went like this, I'm gone.
I know. I feel like the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think that the chairs are really, like if you set the chairs
beautiful.
Here. Yeah.
Let's be honest.
If you're staging a home.
Yeah.
This is a chair that you want in there. But if you want people to come over and stay, this is not. Maybe if you want people to come over and leave.
Ab workout.
It is. I feel very much the same way. But you're a guy who likes to work out. You work out hard. Is that work ethic something you developed in your childhood?
Oh man, Frank, I wish so bad I could tell you.
As a kid growing up in
stories about this
in Wisconsin?
Yes. I mean, we were middle class, at least it felt that way.
Which part of Wisconsin?
Oh, between Milwaukee and Madison, kind of we were out in the country. I grew up on 20 acres, an old farmhouse, 160 old farmhouse, old working farm. We kept, there were 30 left of the original, 500, and grew up around a lot of dairy farms, but in a very nice, affluent area of southeastern Wisconsin where people with wealth from Chicago and Milwaukee had summer homes out on the lakes. We weren't one of those people, but we had everything we wanted, but I also felt like we were, my parents were making it a go and working hard. My mom was a teacher. My dad, I went to my dad's college graduation. His parents were German immigrants. My dad grew up on a big corporate dairy farm. And so, we learned to work. Like we got up and sounds crazy, but we cut 15 acres of grass every Saturday and cut down a lot of trees and picked up a lot of branches and painted an old farmhouse and kept the barn going and all those types of things. Right? Yeah. So it wasn't like I was out milking cows, but I mean, we were taught to work hard. And so it's weird in sports. I was insecure. I was young for my class. I was the tallest guy in my class, even as a 4-year-old when everyone was 5 and I was 5 and they were 6 and I was 7 and they were 8. I was always usually the tallest and the fastest. And I wasn't the strongest, but back then it was all about speed and kickball and running around and doing all that stuff. So I kind of fit in that way, but emotionally I felt insecure. I just felt like people are better than I am. People are bigger and more talented. And so I always felt internally like I was a pretty good athlete, but I was afraid to really kind of act on that. I had a couple coaches that believed in me early and would bring me up. When I was a sophomore, I'm thinking, am I going to make the basketball team? Like make the sophomore JV basketball team? The varsity basketball coach comes to my house one fall afternoon and says, "Hey, can I talk to your mom and dad?" I'm like, "Yeah, what are you doing here?" And he's like, "You're going to come play varsity." I'm like, "Varsity? How am I going to play varsity? I don't know if I'm going to make the JV team." And he's like, "You're tall, you're fast, you're athletic." You're like, "No, you're coming. And we're going to teach you." And so he brought me up. My skill level from a basketball standpoint was there from a hustle, rebounding, passing, all that. I was afraid to shoot because I didn't want to miss and get pulled, right? So it was always kind of that weird paradox. But that same coach was also a assistant football coach, as often is the case in high school. And I remember my junior year, we were in a Oklahoma drill, and it's not like I was dominating people physically, but I remember pulling me aside and said, "Hey, look, you're going to do this. You're going to be really good at this. And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, you're going to be the first person from our high school to get a D1 scholarship. And I'm like, all right, that sounds really good. Thanks. I mean, obviously I said something else, but internally that's what I was internalizing. And sure enough, I was the first kid from my high school to get a D1 scholarship. I don't know really how. I as a senior, I played tight end. I played linebacker. I was a kicker. I was a punter. I think I was all conference punter and kicker, and that was it. I was an all conference linebacker. I was an all conference tight end, but I was the only kid getting recruited. Wisconsin recruited me, Northwestern, Minnesota. There was a coach in Minnesota who got hired to BYU. His name was Roger French. He was an O-line coach. He was recruiting me to Minnesota. He said, hey, I'm going to this place out west. I'm going to keep recruiting you if that's cool. I'm like, yeah, sure. Sounds great. And then, in Northwestern, my mom was a Northwestern grad. Mm-hmm. Wisconsin was close to home, but none of those teams were very good, right? They
really?
Bottom of the Big Ten was pre-Barry Alvarez at Wisconsin.
Gotcha.
Northwestern was like 0-30. A lot previous
for 3 years.
But it was also a great school. My mom graduated from there, was close to home, right? Mm-hmm. So those were kind of all the allures. But anyhow, in a weird roundabout way, I ended up committing to BYU. And
what was the roundabout way? Like
I went to high school.
You're Midwest.
I went to high school on signing day, and I'm walking through the library on my way to my locker, and Coach French is sitting at a table in my library, our library at high school. I'm like, hey. He's like, hey. I'm like, today's signing day. I'm like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I know. Kind of, yeah, that is. And he's like, well, let's get this done. I'm here. Let's go. Flew all the way in from Utah. We want you. You know we want you. Let's sign this thing. And I'm like, okay.
Had you consulted?
Either Wisconsin or BYU, Wisconsin or BYU.
Yeah. It's Wisconsin. You're a Badger.
Yeah, I'm a Badger, but they don't win. And they want me, and they offered me, but BYU felt like they really wanted me, right? Like I didn't feel like Wisconsin didn't really want me, but they wanted me, right? It was like I went on the in-state recruiting trip with all the big recruits. They offered me, like it was cool. Throughout the process, they kind of like, hey, look, are you committing to us? And I'm like, I don't really know what that means. But yeah, dude, my parents were like so chill.
They didn't.
It's just different. It was different. I'm telling you. I grew out.
So you literally went to school signing day.
I went to school signing day
with
BYU,
just some kind of idea, like, oh yeah, it's signing
BYU,
day.
It's BYU or Wisconsin, yeah.
Oh, but you knew that. Okay, so you knew that much.
Yeah, I was like not going to go to Minnesota. I was not going to go to Northwestern. Right?
Okay.
So it was kind of like if I go, I'm going to go to Wisconsin or BYU.
And your parents were like, hey,
what do you think you're going to do? I'm like, Mom, I'm 17. I barely know how to drive.
And I don't really believe in myself.
Coach McLean came at the end of the school day and got me out of my last class. And he's like, hey, excited to have you be a Badger. I'm like, you know what? I signed with BYU this morning. He's like, oh, okay. Well, good luck. You know, it was like one of those things. And then we played Wisconsin my freshman year, BYU, and we beat them 23-3 or something like that at Camp Randall, which was awesome to go back. And you know, it's changed my life, like for the better. I can't even tell you. We won the national championship. My best friend and roommate, Lee Johnson, Steve Young. I mean, one of them's in the Hall of Fame. The other guy played 19 years. They're in my wedding. We're best friends to this day. I talk to them daily. I work with Steve. I'm a business development officer in a significant middle market private equity firm that he's, the chairman of the board and a founding member of. And I started a business. He was on my board. All sorts of different ways where that we are intertwined. And I talked to some of my friends from the recruiting class that went to Wisconsin, which was, I think they finally made it to a bowl game, maybe my junior year, maybe my senior. There were a couple kids on my recruiting class that I played in the East-West Shrine game, which used to be a big college all-star game, still is, not as big as it was. And then the Japan Bowl, I played with, a bunch of them. And they're like, hey, and man, geez, it worked out for you. And I'm like, it really did work out for me. And it obviously worked out for them individually. They were at these college all-star games as well. But from a team standpoint, Wisconsin didn't do anything crazy. And we were always ranked in the top 5. I felt, it is what you is. Your world is where you live and what you're experiencing, your perception. And right, we were in the top 5 every year. And I felt like I was at this crazy program that was just like this meteor up and to the right. It felt, we got Donnie and Marie up the road, for crying out loud. We got We got their studios where it's literally, I know it sounds crazy, but we got every freaking celebrity in the world is coming to Provo, Utah in the 80s to be on the Donnie and Marie show. I mean, it was huge at the time. You forget it was top 5. I mean, and I'm being
so crazy.
I'm being serious in a way. Like, it wasn't about the Donnie and Marie show. It was about like all things kind of Provo, Utah, and Utah were rising, right? Danny Ainge going to the Sweet 16, coast to coast against Notre Dame. I grew up a huge Notre Dame fan, right? We went back and we beat Wisconsin. We're beating SMU. We're going to Georgia toe-to-toe when they're ranked number 1, and we lose 17-14 on a last-second field goal. We have 6 turnovers, and we still almost pull that one off. We go to UCLA. We play in the Rose Bowl. We beat UCLA. We go toe-to-toe to UCLA in another one and beat them, and I think it's still one of the ESPN Classics. I still have people call me, dude, I'm watching you on TV at ESPN Classic at UCLA. It was like 45-46, Steve Bono and Steve Young duking it out, throwing touchdowns all over the place, Don Rogers and all these All-Americans. So it was like, yeah, and it opened me up to a whole new world of Utah and the West and sunshine.
And you're still here.
And I'm still here.
So
yeah, it was monumental.
The most pivotal decision in your life.
Yeah.
Is that it?
That's a big one.
And did you even make a decision? Like, I think there's so many interesting things. One, it sounds like you just kind of had a feeling like, I think maybe that's where I should go.
It's really weird. I don't know if you remember in what your coaches refer to a scholarship as, but it was called a grant and aid.
A grant and aid.
Grant and aid. And I so remember sitting in Coach Edwards' office after the Sunday morning I'm about to leave, fly back to Wisconsin. It was my first recruiting trip. And he said, well, we've got a full grant and aid for you. And I'm like, grant and aid? What is that? Grant and aid. So you're going to grant me money to aid me? I don't really, where's the word scholarship?
Yeah.
I don't hear that
I'm
word.
Looking for a scholarship.
I don't hear that word. And so I got home and my mom was like, how'd it go? I'm like, I think good. They have a grant and aid for me. I'm not sure if that's the same thing as a scholarship. Like my mom's an educator and was really involved in my life, but also they weren't pushy. My dad's an old farmer, right? He was and played baseball. And my dad was just kind and gentle and supportive, but no one was like, where are you going to go? This is really, look, now my brother, who came 5 years later, he was a top 50 recruit in the country. Street and Smith's top 50 recruit had, 40 scholarship offers. But even then with him, they were pretty relaxed. My dad really wanted him to go to Notre Dame. We grew up huge Notre Dame fans. He ended up going to Michigan. We played Michigan my senior year in the bowl game. That was my brother's senior year in high school. We beat Michigan. That's the year we won the national championship. And he's on the, where's he going to go? Did I ever think he was coming to BYU? No. I thought he'd stay in the Midwest because I saw how hard it was on my mom and dad to not be able to just drive 2 hours down the road and watch me play. So I'm thinking, my brother's going to stick around the Midwest somewhere, Nebraska or Notre Dame or, Ohio State or Michigan. He went to Michigan. And so, yeah, and even through that, my parents were very supportive, but relaxed.
Really?
Very
interesting. It's a lot different these days.
Much different.
Like,
my
you show up on it. You being recruited today, you probably walk into the library, you have 4 hats sitting in front of you.
Crazy.
And okay, so that is interesting to me, is that the way that it was managed by your parents, and it was really up to you, and you kind of had to make this decision.
Absolutely.
That's great parenting. The other thing is, and I mean that sincerely.
I agree.
Yeah. And the other thing is, Coach French showed up. Like, how meaningful is that? And how do you incorporate that in your own
That was part of it, right? He came to my basketball games.
Yeah.
He came to my track, all that stuff. And so I'm like, BYU really wants me. Like, I could feel that. And Wisconsin wanted me. And Northwestern really wanted me. But I was like, oh, man, they haven't won a game in 3 years. What's that going to be like? Mentally, it's great that it's an hour down the road. And it's in Chicago and it's Northwestern. It's a great degree. And my mom's an alumni. Those are all cool. But, man, not winning a game in 3 years is rough. And Minnesota just was like, I just really didn't have a desire to go be a Gopher. We were Badgers and we bordering states, and just wasn't anything that was moving the needle for me.
Yeah.
And so, it was really kind of those schools. And I just felt like they never wavered, just were all in on me. And there was some comfort to that. So there's no question when he was there, I'm like, Wow.
Had he not shown up,
Oh,
if he didn't show up that day, are you at Wisconsin?
What's really weird is I don't even know how it would have happened. I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, even then, even like Coach McLean, who was the head coach of Wisconsin at the time, I mean, it's signing day, and they had called me all week and, hey, how you thinking? What are you thinking? And I'm like, oh, I'm just thinking and talking to my parents. And so, yeah, and they just, was different. There's no question. I mean,
yeah.
And then since then, my high school, unbeknownst to me, I mean, it was like the sleeping giant. My high school since then's won, I think, has been to the state championship game more than any other team in the history of Wisconsin.
So it's the program that Jim built.
Well, no, but I was definitely no.
You were the start.
I was definitely the first person to ever, and my brother was number 2, and then since then there's been
House of Herrmann
40.
By the way, 40 D1.
Yeah,
you spell your name kind of funny.
Like very.
It's like very, every very time German. I try to put. Yeah, I'm putting it's like HER. I'm like, is it 2 R's or is it 2 M's?
It's both.
And then there's 2 N's.
Double it up. HERRMANN. Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah.
There's a guy here. I apologize. I can't think of his name right now. He works for the Utah International Business Department. I don't have the wrong name, but I have the wrong name. But I met him at Silicon Slopes, I think. And he said his name, and I heard his accent. I'm like, fellow German, Jim Herrmann. He goes, how do you spell your name? And I told him, HERRMANN. He's like, oh my gosh. And he made me feel like I was the chancellor of Germany. Like he just went off. He's like, dude, do you know your name? Do you know what your name is?
No.
And I'm like, no, I don't.
What?
I'm going to send you. And he sent me all these emails about my name. And he told me about there's a statute of some guy named Herman, spelled the way I am, in some town, and he just made me feel like $1 million.
You're royalty. You're German royalty.
I don't know about that. But he made me feel great, and he told me a little bit, and he sent me this whole background about my name in German and what it meant. And look, my grandparents, like I said, were German immigrants, came from the Black Forest region.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what we're going to name this podcast, by the way.
The Hermanator.
Oh, the Hermanator's good, or Herm. Yeah. I liked Herm too, or Nader. We're going to call it a conversation with German royalty.
It's one day, I was living with Steve and I got done playing. I had screwed my knee up. On
campus, or you're done playing pro?
I'm done playing in the NFL.
Okay.
Had a couple of knee surgeries.
Yeah.
Signed a deal with the Raiders and failed my physical. And so I go, I'm like, what am I going to do? My wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, we were up and down and all around. I'm like, am I responsible enough to get married? How am I going to support?
I'm going to say no.
I couldn't agree more. She was fully like, I could care less, but I'm like, I need to be responsible. She's like, we'll figure it out. But anyhow, so I was kind of trying to figure out my life. And so I go out and I'm living with Steve. And what were we talking about? Lost my train of thought.
You had just had some knee surgeries. You finished the NFL. You were living with Steve. You were trying to decide what to do and get married. Yeah, all of that.
Dang it. What was it? I was going to say I had a great story.
Your testosterone levels are fantastic.
With my brain.
But maybe Prevagen. Maybe we should add that to the regimen.
Don't say that. That's a little nervous.
Okay, you're going to remember what we're remember, and when you do.
Oh, we were going to this event in the city.
This always happens.
You were talking about my name, Herm.
Yeah.
My nickname.
Yeah.
Everyone calls me Herm.
Herm.
I work at a top tier middle market private equity firm.
Yeah.
Right? We are buttoned up. We do things.
We're going to talk about that too. I'm not going to disregard that, by the way. Everyone calls me Herm. HGGC.
Everyone calls me Herm.
At the fund?
At the firm.
They call you Herm?
Hey, Herm.
Are you still the biggest guy there? Like the tallest guy?
I'm the tallest.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
But anyhow, we go to this event in the city. We lived down, if anyone knows the Niners and what they're all about, their practice facilities down in Santa Clara. There were stadiums there at the time. They were playing at the Stick. But so a lot of guys lived down the peninsula, and then the facilities at Santa Clara, and the Candlestick was where the game was. Where one night they had a big event in the city. Steve was invited to it. It was I think it was a breast cancer fundraiser. It was a fashion show with Macy's and big shindig downtown. And they invited a bunch of the Niners. And so Steve's like, hey, come on, we're going downtown to this cool event tonight. I'm like, cool. So he's like, they're sending a limo for us. We hop in the limo. We go by and we pick up Ronnie Lott and Ricky Ellison.
Did you just say Ronnie Lott?
I said Ronnie Lott. So Ronnie Lott.
He's my top 5 of all time.
He's not only is he a bad A player, but he's a great guy. And so we're driving to the city, and we're talking. And I met Ronnie a couple times at the facility, and Ricky, like with Steve, said, "Hey, hi, how you doing?" But nothing crazy. And so we're spending an hour in the limo driving from Palo Alto to downtown San Francisco, and we're talking, and Steve's like, Herm, tell it. Well, and Herm and I we're just talking. And so we go to the event, and afterwards we go get some food. And so Ronnie Lott's like, so, hey, Herb, so Herb, are you from, and so I'm like, dude, this is Ronnie Lott calling me Herb. And which is fine. It's a fine name for anyone named Herb out there. But I'm like, my name is not Herb. My name is Jim Herrmann. And I'm thinking, I need to correct Ronnie Lott.
I can't tell you how much I love this story.
Steve's not correcting him. So I'm like, all right, here goes. I'm going to correct Ronnie Lott.
Why?
Not sure if he's going to knock me out.
No, you just get a new nickname.
Said, hey,
okay,
Ronnie,
here we go.
My name is Jim Herrmann. He's like, why is Steve calling you Herb? In the limo all night. I'm like, he's calling me Herm. It's like, that makes sense. So then the rest of the night he called me Herm. But yeah, for an hour I got Ronnie Lott and Ricky Ellison calling me Herb.
I'm calling you Herb from now on.
Peaches and Herb.
Herb, yeah.
Yeah. So
you can kind of look like a Herb.
That was the name.
That's such a good. Hey, is it true about Ronnie Lott?
Yeah.
Just cut it off.
Oh man, we're at dinner and I'm like, whoa. Like I'm watching him eat pizza with 4.5 fingers.
So everybody knows that story.
I'm assuming
he broke his finger really, really badly, couldn't get it fit, and then they said, well, you're going to have to play with a cast or you can't play, and he was like, cut it off.
Yeah. And they did.
And they said, what? And
it's
they said,
not
cut
fully
it,
in
Mick.
half. It's kind of like that a little past that first knuckle.
Yeah.
Because, cutting above the knuckle, what's that knuckle going to do?
Nothing.
So
you got to cut
went below the first knuckle.
So it's kind of a half a.
It's a little over. I would say it's not technically 3/4 nor a half.
So then that effectively ended his
fractions. So whatever that
piano.
is fractionally, that's what he's got.
Like a 2/3 of a pinky left.
Yeah.
He can't play piano anymore.
No, he can't.
Can't hit the low notes.
Probably a bunch of things right now. Saxophone might be out. What else? Clarinet. There's a few things. Flute. Piano.
I think all of those things. Yeah. I think you're right.
But yeah, amazing human being and one of the all-time greats that play that game.
Ronnie Lott. I mean, nobody played that position like Ronnie. I mean, I guess who would be another guy? Kenny Easley? Yeah.
Wow, isn't that weird? So at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kenny Easley, probably precursor Jack Tatum, some of those guys.
Yeah, Raiders.
Yeah, just embodied toughness.
And
like not just toughness, but he really respected the game of being tough and not being dirty, but pushing every limit you can of toughness without being dirty. Steve's got great stories of him of just being principled and a leader, like just a leader, not so much yelling, screaming, and profanity, and but just led with character and toughness, and again, going back to our freshman year, I mean, to have people on your team that are like that, that's invaluable. I mean, I've used the word permeate a few times, but it just permeates the team. It drips down. It trickles down through kind of the nooks and crannies, and people try to emulate that.
Yeah. I have a few questions based on all the stuff we just talked about.
Yes, sir.
So it might not sound like it's flowing, but these are all the things that have popped into my head.
Yeah, no.
One is, I have to go back. You did signing day, and then how much did BYU pay you when you were there?
It was big. Still living off that. It's interest, cash on cash. It's fascinating how it's changed.
Oh, is it ridiculous? Wait, is it ridiculous what's happening right now?
It's ridiculous. And okay. I will say this. I think I'm really a pragmatic person. I can be certainly emotional and all those types of things. I did go to law school, teaches you to think critically. I think I've always kind of been that type of person.
Did you do your law
Libra? I'm a Libra, so scales. I'm always kind of balancing.
Oh, did you go to law school at?
I went to law school at BYU. Yeah.
But not with.
Steve and I graduated together.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
You see, everybody knows.
You went a semester at a time?
Yeah.
I did 3 years at a time. It just so happened that my third year coincided with his last semester. So we got to go 3 semesters together.
Yeah.
I went 3 years in a row, and then our last semester of my third year and the last semester of his, basically 6 semesters in a row, which is really mind-blowing what he did. We graduated together. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. What were we talking about?
We were... I know. I'm sorry. This is. I do this all the time. I go off on these tangents, and then I get everybody gets
critical
all
thinking.
Yeah, I get everyone off track.
I was talking.
That's my
thinking.
So I had these questions. We were talking about the ridiculousness of college athletes.
Yeah. So look, as time as I used to be like, absolutely not. This is going to ruin it. Don't pay anyone a dime.
Yes.
Do not do this. What you're going to open up a can of worms.
Right.
And I go to this gym, and we're going to start not a podcast, but we're going to start a reality show there. Just kind of mic us up because it's fascinating, and we talk about it all the time. We got some really varied opinions, and it's fun, and we lift and we work out and we solve the world problems. But I've been way before it started. I'm like, preemptively pay them. Like right now, don't let it go any farther. Cough up and say every kid in America at a D1 program is going to get $30,000 a semester. Just pick a number. Pick a number. 20 grand, 25, because if not, what's going to happen is what's happened. And I think if they would have beat them to the punch and said, you know what, this isn't going to go away. Let's preemptively strike. Let's make sure you're right. You know what? Nick Saban's making 10 million. Urban Meyer's making 10, 11 million. These guys, these schools are making ridiculous amounts of money. And guess what? It's
and the media.
And guess who they're making it off of? All those kids. Yes, the coach, but the kids are the product. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so somehow, how is everyone getting rich? But Jimmy got kicked out for getting a free pair of stocks and a slice of pizza. It made no sense. Right?
Or a coach takes him out to a lunch because he had some tragedy in his family.
Exactly.
And like there's ridiculous stories.
It made no sense.
Yeah.
So I'm like, preemptively strike. Get ahead of this. Like, just say, yes, everyone's going to be paid, but everyone's going to be paid the same. And everyone's going to get 25 grand. And I don't think there would have been any lawsuits.
Well, that's...
Because you go from 0 to 25 grand, that's like winning the lottery. Right?
Yeah.
As a kid, if you and me would have made 25 grand a semester
and have a scholarship, it would have been phenomenal. It would have been phenomenal.
And guess what? It would have been phenomenal 5-6 years whenever they started this craziness.
Well,
right. But so what happened is they let it run the distance, and then they said, you know what? We're going to go from all these rules to no rules.
Zero rules.
That's a real problem, as we all know, because human beings don't do good without rules. We need structure. We need some direction, or it goes south quickly, right? And so I still think it can be salvaged. I think the reality is like, look, I know the reason you had me on this program is because you've never had a minority owner in an NFL franchise. Well, my friend, own part of an NFL franchise. I know, guys.
You do currently?
I have 5 shares of the Green Bay Packers.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
it's big.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
And
so I've been to a couple owners' meetings.
That's something.
I voted on some things.
Who did you vote? Did you vote on? Did you vote on like coaches?
I just raised my hand.
You vote on? What do you vote on? Like
all sorts.
Are we going to do foot-long hot dogs this year, or are we going to do garlic fries?
Cougar tails. Okay, so but I'm being serious. My point is, if you know anything about Green Bay,
yes,
it's awesome. We just had the draft there last night. We're going to have the draft there again tonight, right? It's in a tiny little town.
Yeah, tiny.
In the middle of Wisconsin.
I have a dear friend who's not an emergency room doctor. He's not an anesthesiologist. Anyway, he's a doctor in Green Bay. That's where he landed after medical school.
It's amazing.
And he's been there for 20 years. He's stayed.
Great. It's an unbelievable community. But why can the Green Bay Packers compete with the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants? Because they decided a long time ago that everyone needs everyone. And if we want to have parity, and by the way, right, if you want some great books to read, I read when I was in law school, I took a sports law class my third year, and we had really interesting people come talk to us about the legal business side of sports. And part of the requirements for the class were to read books about that general genre, right? And there was a whole list, and you could submit. So I read The League, which was the book about forming the NFL, right? And any given Sunday was not a marketing slogan. right? It was part of the thesis of we want to create a league where on any given Sunday, any team could compete with another team, and the chances of winning or losing are hopefully going to be equal, right? So any given Sunday,
right?
And so why do they? It's not a ping pong ball with the gosh dang draft, right? The last team picks first, right? How is the schedule made? It's based upon your success the year before, right? Everything is made to create parity, right? So on any given Sunday, any team can compete with anyone else. And there were some real leaders and people that had foresight that were founders of that league, right? First it was the NFC. Well, it was the NFL. And then the AFC started to kind of compete. And they realized, well, there was a process there, but they figured it out. Let's come together. And, there's strength in numbers. And then when they did that, because there was a lot of jockeying going on with different leadership and different rights, just like there is now between the SEC and the Big Ten, right? And the AFC and the NFC were competing for dollars. And they finally said, look, if we join together and we try to make the pie as big as possible, ultimately your pie is going to be bigger than what we're negotiating over here. So your piece of that pie is going to be bigger than what we're going to negotiate as the whole pie. And so they said, you know what, let's do that. And in order to do that, some of you guys are going to early on take less money than you could make as an independent, or basically as not an equal to other franchises that are going to be born or not as old or not in the same geolocation that you are. And they said, okay, you know what? Fair enough. Everyone hand in the middle, ready, set, break. And they all said Green Bay is going to make the same amount, same piece of big of pie as the people in Dallas. And as the same ownership group in New York is going to make the same size of pie as the guy in Tennessee, right? And it's created this unbelievable league. If you have any idea of what this country is, whether it's a football team, a basketball team, or a baseball country, FYI, it's a football country.
There's no question.
And in large part because of those unbelievable decisions that they made. Now, guess what? What does the SEC care about? The SEC. What does the Big Ten care about? The Big Ten, right? They're out negotiating rights for content to anyone that'll stream, carry, broadcast, whatever, in disregard of every other league. Now, what if they had the lens of, is this good for the Pac-12? Is this good for the Big 12? Is this good for the SEC? Because all boats rise, right? I can't think of the
rising tide.
Rising tide, right? So let's raise the gosh dang tide.
Yeah.
And we've got to, you know what? We're going to have to forego some short-term gain because of our greediness is pushing us that way. But if we can just see the forest through the trees, people care about Oregon State? Not really, but they do, because they're part of the puzzle. Do people care about Illinois? Do people care about Rutgers? Do people care about Vanderbilt? Those are all Power 5, but now Power 4 teams, right? And so they were smart enough to say, yeah, once you're in the club, you're in the club. Now the club's just going to get bigger. And instead of trying to buy players away, what we're going to do is we're going to give Green Bay the same amount as Dallas, just like we're going to give Oregon State the same amount as Alabama. And it's going to be set, and it's going to be a hard cap. And there's no way around it. And then guess what? That NIL really works.
Okay, so you're saying that's where it needs to go.
That's where it needs to go.
Yeah, because right now, the only thing that happened was the rich got richer. And,
totally.
And so,
but
the Utahs of the world,
ironically, created more parity.
I mean, parity where? Parity at the top?
Because instead of being able to stockpile, second team quarterback at Alabama said, forget this.
I know, but
I'm out. Peace out.
That's true. But still, Alabama's going to be able to pay the next second string quarterback more than the University of Utah is going to pay probably the first string quarterback. So parity maybe at the top is
one of the biggest proponents of, not but what I'm trying to articulate to you right now, which other people have articulated as well, but which I think is the answer. One of the biggest people that is the proponent of that is Nick Saban.
Oh no, I think
he hated the NIL.
Yeah, I agree.
Felt like he couldn't compete.
I think that's why he stepped away.
Exactly, but
I like what you're talking about. I'm just saying what is happening right now. I don't think that has created any more parity. In fact, for teams that are like mid-market, so here's the University of Utah, who could every 3 years, maybe less than that, they could get all of these guys together. They recruit 3 stars, a couple 4 stars, they build this unit, and then all of a sudden they have a season where they're almost maybe going undefeated, lose a game, find themselves in the national picture. They rebuild a little bit, and then they can make that run again. But at this point, they just can't. They don't have the funds to compete with the Oregons or Washingtons or Alabamas or Clemsons or Texases of the world.
The judgment that was handed down now, if I'm wrong on any of this, forgive me, but I've got this from pretty good resources, right? So the judgment that was handed, down 2 or 3 years ago, where every team now gets $20.6 million, right? In theory, every team gets the same number. To me, that's a step in the right direction. Mm-hmm. The problem is it's for all sports.
Yeah.
So the problem is guess who's going to finagle their way around that? Someone, I don't know who, but because the goose that's laying the golden eggs is football. So to me,
that's right.
The step in the right, the next direction, the next step that it needs to take is at 20.3 or whatever the number is, 22, 25, 21, 17, 19, has to be just football. Every football program in America gets
the same resource.
Same resource.
Well,
and then they have an NIL. They've established, from what I hear, an NIL board. And NIL now has to be true NIL. For instance, the Sanders kids, right? They were on KFC ads. Guess what? That's true NIL. Mm-hmm. It has to go before a National Review Board. They're getting an opportunity to be spokespeople for Kentucky Fried Chicken. Here's the contract. We saw it. They're getting paid $1.5 million, whatever it is. Sign the deal. Those are so few and far between.
Absolutely.
So few and far between that NIL will take care of itself. Look, we have a professional professional sporting team here in Utah. Right, Utah Jazz. Now we have 2 with the hockey team. How many people off the Utah Jazz have NIL deals in Utah? That answers the question. You know why? Because real business people have to get an ROI.
Absolutely.
And when it's real NIL, no one's just going to say,
I agree.
Let's sign Billy to a $5 million deal and we're going to recruit.
I agree.
Where they get around that is by donating to these collectives.
Yes,
or there's some big alumni is going to pay because he wants his team to win.
Yeah.
But when it's true NIL, when a business has to make a decision on a name, image, and likeness contract that is going to have to return something to that business, it gets super tough.
Okay, so that's a different...
So to me, those take care of them. But the thing is, it's the hard cap. And then the other thing is, right, offering consideration. That's contract. That's contract 101, right? Yeah. And so... you got to sign a contract. Mm-hmm. We're going to offer you money. Consideration is you come play for us. That means you play every game, including the bowl game. Mm-hmm. You don't get out of anything. Mm-hmm. And when you sign it, we pay you if you stay.
Right.
And if you leave and you don't fulfill your old contract. So I don't think
you think those things are coming together.
I think those 2 or 3 little things, it puts it at least back in a place where we can all live with it.
I hope so.
Because right now it's wacky.
It's wacky.
Yeah.
We're not going to get on this topic, but I mean, you could say, you're a golf fan, I'm a golf fan. You could say the same thing about what's happening with the PGA and LIV. It was like they need to figure out how to get that.
Exactly.
Anyway, that's for another podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to ask you about, you've already mentioned it, but you've had some great leadership in your time. I would say that the way your upbringing, the way your parents manage you, like that's a distinct form of leadership and laying responsibility on your shoulders. Yeah. Like you had to make a lot of decisions. I do want to ask you at some point about how you overcame this lack of self-confidence, because I think anyone who meets you would never say that about you.
I appreciate you saying that. I mean, it's interesting. One is, I do think, this term is, it's awesome because it makes sense to me, but it's thrown around a lot now. And I think it makes perfect sense, but the imposter syndrome, right? I've never heard of imposter syndrome except for 2 or 3 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. And I think everyone's got it, right? I mean, there might be a few people that don't, but at the end of the day, most of us, like, is someone going to figure this out?
Someone's going to know.
They gave Frank a microphone in a studio, and now he's a podcaster. Like, is this working? And so, you know what I'm saying? And I definitely had that. One thing that helped me was, and in retrospect, it was another great reason for positive in the ledger for my decision to go to BYU, is they believed in me. Like I could feel it. I could feel Coach French coming to and telling me, dude, you are quick, you are fast. You're the tallest guy out there. You're the best athlete on the field. And then that wasn't hyperbolic. It wasn't like he was being sincere. Like he's still scouting me, right? And then I got here and Coach Whittingham, Big Fred's like, I heard you're super quick. I heard you're a great athlete. I heard you were like a 21-foot long jumper. You high jumps. Like, dude, you're an athlete. Let's go. We're going to develop you, right? And so all of a sudden, I'm like, I got people believing in me. Like, and not that people didn't do that in high school, but outside of that one coach that I told you about, no one ever came up to me. And my head football coach is a great human being. He just was not that guy. He didn't push me for anything. He didn't scouts would come around. Yeah, you can talk to Jim if you want. He's not bad. He's fast, tall, fast guy. Like, it just was that way. Right? It just, not like he was trying to throw me under the bus. No, it just wasn't who he was, right? And so I got to BYU, and I felt like people believe in me, and then weirdly enough, I do think a lot of it is, we were just talking about this day. I mean, the number one pick in the draft was a 0-star recruit. He was at his third program, right? How can that be? Well, sometimes that's the way your life path, your journey goes, and that was part of my life journey. It's like I went to a place that believed in me. I remember showing up with a freshman going, I'm freaking going to start. Like, I'm doing really good. I'm as good as everyone. They're going to start me as a freshman. And then the seniors came, and this guy named Nick Ayer, who was 6'6", 300, first 300-pound dude I'd seen. And I had to go against him every day. I'm like, this isn't going so good. This is not going,
I might not start.
This is not going well. And I remember walking off the field one day in tears, like literally trying to just hold it in, not cry. No, there's no crying in football. And I'm being serious. And I remember walking into the locker room, and Coach Chow was standing there. He was talking to another coach, and he was a recruiting coordinator. So he was involved in my recruitment. And he just pulled me aside. He's like, look, I can see it. Like, you're getting beat up, but this is going to work for you. Just, you're going to be fine. You got to get through this. The coaching staff loves you. We think you've got all this upside. Just get through it. And I remember going, okay, that buoyed me, right? Buoyed me more. And then the other reality is I got good coaching. Like I remember it, figuring it out. I remember so well, I went to Northwestern. Rick Venturi was the coach who ended up coaching the Indianapolis Colts. He was a coach in the NFL. And he was teasing me about my stance. I played outside backer, and he's like, "Hey, look, we think you can really grow into an amazing, Big Ten linebacker at our program. We've got this great coach." And he goes, "Well, get rid of that awful stance you got." And I remember him kind of doing it and mimicking me and like mocking me, really, on my recruiting trip. I'm going, I guess I'm doing that wrong, but no one told me at my high school. I had
maybe they didn't know.
No, that's why I had really good coaches, and so to me, I coach high school football now. To me, it's all about fundamentals, right? Football hasn't changed in 100 years. Schemes have changed, zone blitzes have come about, right? Different things have happened, but fundamentally, each position is still roughly the same, right? And so once I learned about leverage and get off and body lean and extension and all these different things that I could play with, wow, it's like I remember kind of going, it's coming to me, right? And so by my time end of my freshman year came along, I had an internal confidence that it was rough my freshman year, but I got to play in almost every varsity game as a freshman. Like three of us, me, Todd Shell, Visek Ema, and like Wayman Hamilton, I think. And somehow someone saw something in me, like, we're going to dress Jim. I remember the first day that I got to dress was the first home game. They didn't travel me the first game, and then after every game I traveled and I dressed. And my name was spelled wrong on my jersey, but I wasn't going to tell them.
Was it spelled?
There was only one R.
Was it spelled Herb?
Well, there was only one R. And I think this time when I corrected them the next time, well, then there was only one N. I'm like, okay, they got the R thing right, but then I got the N thing wrong. But I could have cared less because I'm freaking dressing.
Yes.
And I'm getting to play a handful of plays.
Right.
And this is amazing, right? And all of a sudden, the confidence in me started to build. And I'm like, I can do this, I hope people are listening to this because these are amazing lessons about people recognizing talent and maybe recognizing self-doubt and trying to bolster that. The coaches and the people who are around you. And I'm sure that those are lessons that you incorporate with the kids you coach 100%.
today. Maybe you don't even realize it, but those are such valuable things along the way.
I appreciate you saying that. I make a point of it. I coached at Corner Canyon for 5 years, and I had a kid who was a defensive end. And I was kind of had a defense coordinator by committee, and I was basically that guy or part of it. And we would go up and defend who we're going to start at our position and our defense. And I had a defensive end who I'm like, that's Jim Herrmann as a junior. He was 6'4", 6'5". He was skinny. He was a really good athlete, but he wasn't a great football player. But I'm like, oh, dude, I can teach you. We can do this. Like, and so I get up and I'm like, I'm starting this guy, and I would say his name, but the head coach is like, no, you're not starting. I'm like, yeah, I am. I'm like, am I the guy or am I not the guy?
Name another guy.
You're the offensive guy. I'm like, no. He's like, no, I think you should put Sean there. And I'm like, no, coach, I'm telling you, this guy is going to be a player. No, I don't know. I disagree. And so we went through camp, and I just kept playing him. And he played really well in the blue-white game that we had at corner. And then I'm not joking. I think he was number 1 in sacks in the country through like 8 games. He just had it. He wasn't a beast, but he was a great athlete. And he knew, we coached him how to rush the passer, how to play with leverage on the edge, how to not get reached, how to, sink your hips when you're getting driven, and he just was smart. He was coachable, and he got it. And he's like, hey, halfway through the season, he's like, well, I guess I was wrong on that guy. And not like I was right, but I could feel like it was going to work out.
Yeah.
And so I make a point of trying to find those guys.
Yeah.
And I also make a point of talking to recruiters when they come, if I get that chance.
Sure.
Like, hey, man, I'm just telling you, Keaton Bills was the guy who went to the U. I mean, they call me and I'm like, hey, look, what do you think? I'm like, I think he's a stud. I think he's going to be an all-American, all-conference offensive guard or center. You don't think he can play D-line? I'm like, no, I think he can play D-line, but he's going to be an all-conference guard or center. And guess what he was?
Yeah.
An all-conference guard or center.
Yeah.
And, he called me when he had almost a mission. Hey, I want to meet you. Coach, can you, spring ball is coming up. And I kind of want to say, dude, you're going to be an offensive lineman. But we went and did some D-line drills, and 2 weeks later they moved him to offensive line, and he
rest is history.
Rest is history. So, I mean, so to me, I try to identify guys that I think like, yeah, you can do it, man. And I can see it in you. And, I people looked out for me when I was that guy.
Yeah.
And so I try to look out for other people that I think are in that same situation.
Tell me about life lessons that you learned from being around Lavelle Edwards.
Yeah, man, one of the all-time outstanding human beings. I realized that leadership comes in all different shapes and sizes, and that great leaders surround themselves with people that are at least as smart as they are, if not smarter, right? And that comes with humility, but also confidence. And those things work together, and that, I think, is great leadership. And there's no question that Coach Edwards knows football. And but Coach Edwards is like, look, I'm the CEO of this organization, and I'm going to instill a culture which I think is going to create winning and an enjoyable experience. And those two things together are going to equal success. But I'm going to hire some really tough lieutenants that are experts at their craft and are really smart.
Yeah.
And I'm going to even get some that are probably going to do my yelling and screaming for me, because I don't really want to do that. I want to lead as a stoic guy who's going to set rules and boundaries, and I'm never going to get too high and I'm never going to get too low. Certainly some of that was personality driven. I think some of it was calculated.
Just design, yeah.
And he got those guys. And, Coach Whittingham, in retrospect, probably wasn't as scary as I thought he was, but he was scary.
Fred. This is
Big Fred,
the elder.
Yeah, Kyle's dad.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, he liked me. He dressed me. He played me. He was our D coordinator. He saw something in me like, dude, you're going to grow into something. Like, as my first home game, I'm just like, I'm glad to be there on the sideline. And if you ever knew Coach Whittingham, he talked like there was something like the rumor was he dropped 400 pounds on his throat when he was benching.
Oh, I heard it was more than
whatever.
No, I think that's true.
You know that.
But here's the other part of that story. Not only did he drop 400 or 500 pounds on his throat, he did it on purpose.
Really?
Because he wanted that voice.
Well, he had.
That's the extra part of the story.
He had it.
He had it.
He never had
talking like that.
In a North Atlantic slight accent. He's from like Maryland or Boston, where he's from.
Like Charles Bronson.
So
I mean, he kind of.
Yeah. And so it's the first game. I'm dressed I'm just stoked to be there. So I'm like, I'm just going to stay out of the way and just get a front row seat.
Yeah.
I'm a freshman.
Yeah. Give me some popcorn.
And right before halftime, all of a sudden I hear Jim Herrmann. And I'm like, why the heck would he be calling my name? And I'm like, does he need a drink? So I'm like, walk over there with a water bottle. I'm like, yeah, coach. He's like, where's your helmet? I'm like, it's over there. He goes, get in, you're in. And I'm like, I'm in? He's like, get in. And so I go in. I remember Brad and I'm like, hey, Brad, you're out. I'm in, apparently. And so I got a handful of plays before halftime, and then he played me in the fourth quarter.
Wow.
And it's like, you know my name. Like, you actually know my name, and you called it out, and you told me to go in. And so, like, I'm serious,
another
like,
great leadership story.
But it wasn't Coach Edwards calling my name, right? It was, he's like, Coach Whittingham, you're going to run the defense. I trust you. Coach was a defensive guy. He played offense. He was a center, but he knew both. And then we had Doug Scoville. And I think he was like, hey, look, I'm not in the Big Ten. I don't have these massive O-linemen just rolling through. So guess what? I got to figure out a way to get the ball down the field without 3 yards in a cloud of dust. And I think that was purposeful. And he found a guy. And like people like, hey, this, that, and the other thing, we were the only ones doing it. Mm-hmm. That's why Jim McMahon had 78 NCAA records or 77 or whatever it was. Because no one's throwing the ball. So every time he threw the ball was a record. It was like, my gosh, a record. Another record.
4 passes in a row. That's a new NCAA record.
And so, Coach Edwards did that. He sought out and found Doug Scoville and had Norm Chow on the staff and these other guys that developed this offensive system that changed the game.
It was revolutionary. It was revolutionary.
You talked like Hal Mummy and some of these guys that were, coached at Kentucky and other places that were air raid. And I mean, oh man, I can't remember why my Texas Tech, Washington State, BYU guy used to come by practice all the time.
Leach.
Yeah, Coach Leach, right? Same thing. I mean, Coach Leach wasn't, but he smart guy. That said, BYU can win that way. I'm going to come down. He would come out. He'd hang out at practice. He got to know all the coaches.
I mean, Don Coryell.
Yeah. I mean, they were all dudes. Coach Billick from, right? I mean, there was a lot of people at Coach Holmgren. I mean, Coach Holmgren, I got this great story. I think I might have told you, but Coach Edwards comes to me one day. He says, hey, we're going to hire this guy. Scoville had left. He went to go be the head coach at San Diego State. Mm-hmm. And then Coach Tolner came and went to USC. Did he go USC?
He ended up at USC.
Yeah, did he go to San Diego State too? I can't remember.
He may have.
Yeah. And then, and so we're going to hire Mike Holmgren. And so I saw Coach Edwards one day. He's like, hey, how's it going? I go, great. And he's like, hey, we're going to hire this guy from the Bay Area. He's coming out here. He's not a member of the church. You're not a member of the church. I know you really like it here. You've got great respect for the program. Would you just kind of, as a non-member on the team who's playing a significant role and is adapted, would you mind talking to him, tell him about your experience? I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. So I got to meet Coach Holmgren. I'm like, he had 4 young girls, and I'm like, look, you're gonna love it here. I think we drove around town and said there's great places to live and great neighborhoods. You're gonna love it here. People are so kind and nice, and you're gonna fit in. And whatever you've heard, just discount 90% of it, and 10% of it's probably true. But whatever it is, it's all good. There's nothing really bad. You're gonna be fine. And so we kind of developed a little bit of a friendship. And then would chat and talk, and we'd before practice, how's it going? And then afterwards, he went to the Niners, and I moved out there and lived with Steve, and he was there, and I would see him in the player parking lot afterwards. We'd go to dinner. I'd see him at the facility, and then he gets hired to. I mentioned that I was a minority owner, did I not?
Yeah, of the Green Bay Packers.
He gets hired by the Green Bay Packers.
No less.
And I call him and I'm like,
who was his quarterback?
Kidding me? You are coming to the Green Bay Packers. And he's like, right, you're from there. I'm like, yeah, I'm from there. I'm an owner. Who do you think cast the deciding vote to hire you? I approved I approved your salary and everything. And so anyhow, he came, and about 2 years he was there, and I saw him either at a BYU thing or somewhere, and I said, hey, how's it going? He's like, great, man, we're loving it. And I said, my dad has had Packer season tickets for 40 years. And he's an awesome guy, super quiet, but the hugest Packer fan, just like every other Packers fan on the planet. My mom is too. I said, would you mind if I brought them up to Lambeau? We lived closer to Milwaukee out in the country. I said, would you mind if I bring them up in the summer and you give them a tour of Lambeau and he's like, absolutely, love to do that. So he's like, why don't you do it mid-July, right before training camp? I said, perfect. I always go home mid-July, see my family. So I go home, call him. He's like, yep, come on up Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever it was. And we're renovating Lambeau. You know that, right? And I said, yeah, I know that. And I said, that's part of the reason I wanted to come. And he's like, yeah, great. I'll give him a tour, tell him everything we're doing. So we go up there, drive up there and on a hot, sunny mid-July day. And we were meeting around 11 o'clock in the morning or whatever. And so I get there and he's like, hey, go get Andy. So I played with Andy. He was on BYU. He was an offensive tackle. I was a defensive end. So I was not first team my freshman year. He was not either. So we went together in like one-on-one pass rush and all that stuff. And then he stayed on as a GA and he would work with the scout team offense and I was playing defense. So I would interface with Andy there and got to be friendly with him and knew him obviously fairly well. And so he's like, go get Andy and then meet us in the training room. We'll all go on a tour together. I'll take your parents down there. And I said, great. And I go, where is he? He goes, go up like the third floor. We're redoing. The offices are all a mess, but it's like the third office down on the left. So I go down the office on the left and he's sitting in there in this little tiny office with 3 desks, jigsaw puzzled in there. And I'm like, hey. And he's like, hey. And like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I brought my parents up. Mike's going to give him a tour. And he told me to come grab you. And we'll go down the training room. We'll go on a tour. And he's like, yeah. And so we're chit-chatting. I'm like, Andy, dude, bigger office, I hope, in this reno.
Yeah.
We're getting a bigger office. He's like, yeah. I share it with a couple of guys that I work with. And so we're up, we stand up, we're about ready to walk out the office, and these 2 dudes walk in. He's like, Jim, it's John Gruden, Steve Mariucci. I go, hey, John Gruden, hey, Steve Mariucci, how you doing? And so we kind of sit down, because Steve Mariucci was from Marquette. My uncle lived in Marquette. We had all these kind of like Midwest ties, and we're talking about Wisconsin. And Gruden's just being Gruden, back in the day. And so we sit down, and Mike comes like 20 minutes later. He's like, where have you been? What's your deal? You're supposed to get... I said, well, these guys came in, we started talking. And so we sat down, and for like the next 3 hours, Mike Holmgren, Hall of Fame, going to be. Andy Reid's going to be in the Hall of Fame. John Gruden will probably be in the Hall of Fame. Steve Mariucci, and me, my mom and my dad, on a hot, humid July afternoon, sat in a tiny little office in Lambeau Field. And talked Midwest,
the Holy Land,
and football and Packers for like the next 3.5 hours. And there was no cell phone, so I never got a...
You weren't lying. That was a great story.
It was a great story.
I was wondering.
Yeah.
About halfway through,
where is this
I was
going?
like, jeez.
Yeah. But one of those all-time moments of just
that
like...
is
super cool and just amazing. Again, Mike coming to BYU, me having the opportunity to get to know Mike, just the experience we had.
Going back to Coach Edwards, like you mentioned it, hiring people, his coaching tree is ridiculous.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I was fortunate enough to serve as a captain my senior year. And so I got to interface with him.
Yeah.
Right. You call the captains in. We were 3 hotheads and 1 calm guy. And so we were always in there going like, look, you 3 got to chill out and you're supposed to be leaders. And, but he was so cool and such an unbelievable leadership style of trust, of empowering you, but also working within the rule structure and the structure of the team. And then he was also, everything was vertical, and it all went to him. So if there were big decisions to be made or disciplinary things that had to be done, you just went right to him. Mm-hmm. And you had an opportunity to go in his office anytime for an hour, for a half hour, talk about your personal life or talk about what's happening on the team. And he just had this super calm, fatherly, but CEO, but friend, personality that could walk you through anything.
Yeah, he just had a way of balancing all of those and still being very personal. I mean, leadership can be difficult.
Yeah.
And people sometimes manage it differently.
Yeah. And you mattered. Like, I seriously don't know how he did it.
Yeah.
Like, I want to think he did it because I was cool and special. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of cool and special people that played in that program, right? But I'd seen 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 years later. How's Leslie? How are you guys doing? So Cole's your oldest? I'm like, how do you know that?
Yeah.
I'm like one of hundreds,
thousands
that you've coached.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, of course he knows because I'm Jim. And I was like, but
you're Herb.
That's what everyone else. I'm Herb. Jim Herrmann. And so I'm like, but he just had that knack about him of making you feel special and like you mattered.
It's so fortunate to find yourself in that situation. You've already talked about all of these guys and all of these unbelievable stories of leadership. I want to talk about what you're doing today and what your role is with HGGC and how some of those lessons have transferred into the corporate boardroom.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I mean, my career has been, like I told you about earlier, this imposter syndrome. I mean, I've had so many great stories around just, my career. I hate to even say that because in some ways I don't feel like I've had a career. I've had careers. But yeah, I after law school, I had an offer from a really nice, upstanding, amazing, reputable firm here. And I'm like, do I really want to go practice law? I just graduated and I've got an offer from a really nice firm, which at the time was really hard to get. And I'm studying for the bar. I'm like, I'm going to go be an hourly employee. Is this really what I want to do? I now have a doctorate degree, but I'm going to get paid by the hour. Kind of hit.
And you're going to work a lot.
Yeah. And it wasn't who I am. My personality is not that. And
I don't know. I mean, not to get off the topic, but I could see you in a courtroom drama.
I could do that. I definitely feel like I could do good in the courtroom.
Yeah.
It's the interrogatories and the research and the writing and
all the necessary stuff.
I was a good writer. I didn't love it.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't something that I loved to do.
Yeah.
It's like, holy smokes, this is like, I got to get this right. I got to get my words right. Words matter. And so
you're just trying to decide.
So yeah. And Steve had started a foundation when we were in law school together because he realized that he can fly around and help all these people by going to golf tournaments, or he can create a foundation, raise a bunch of money and direct it where it goes, right? Instead of being a cog in a wheel, he could be the wheel. And so he started this, and I was kind of our first fundraiser. So I would go out and solicit donations to our foundation. Steve was at the height, or kind of cruising into the height of his career. He'd left BYU number 2 in the Heisman, All-American, right? People knew him. And so I was out raising money and had some pretty early success of bringing people to the foundation that were writing checks, had a little knack for that. And then Steve would pay me a little tiny bit of what I would raise to help me kind of support my family when I was in law school. Got pregnant, got married, got pregnant right away when we were in law school. It's like, man, responsibility, this is crazy. And so that kind of turned into a thing, right? Where I was making some money, supporting myself, developing great relationships. And we started this golf tournament, raised a whole bunch of money, and I met some amazing people through that. I met Bob Gay, who was the founder of our firm. I met a whole bunch of other people who are outstanding, stellar human beings that also were just great role models. And I met the owners of a company that I worked for a year out of Logan. It was kind of interesting. And all through that, I'm like, I'm an imposter. Like, who am I? What am I? And I remember getting the tipping point from my brother-in-law for Christmas. And in that book, there's a chapter on connectors. And it's not just like a blurb. It's like he gives connectors full props. Like, these are really important to the ecosystem of a company. Connectors are worth their weight. They do all. And I just remember having this epiphany. Like, I put the book down. I'm like, okay, I know who I am. Like, I'm a connector. Like, someone just validated me. I don't even know this Malcolm Gladwell guy. Sounds like a good guy.
Not a bad guy.
And
he's done okay.
And all of a sudden I'm like, okay, yeah, you know what? That's who I am. I'm going to figure out how to monetize that, right? So in the firm, like, I am who I am. I'm like the most non-private equity guy in our firm, in the sense of if I was going to go the finance route, and I was a finance undergrad and I had a law degree, if I was going to go the finance route, I would go to New York and I'd put in all these arduous hours and I'd sleep under my desk. I didn't do any of that, right? I was out trying to make a football team and getting drafted and out of the combine and doing all that crazy stuff. And so by the time I burned through those years where I'd go be an analyst, I was like, now I'm feet on the street. Or later I end up as a business development officer at an upper middle market, top tier, just the best of the best private equity group. And I was a connector, right? Big part of our business is deal flow. And we are partnership investors. It is all about forming a relationship with the founder, owner, entrepreneur, or management team, figuring out do we fit? Is it the jockey? Is it the horse? Obviously it's both, but we better have a really good relationship with the jockey. We better trust that guy because he's going to be riding that horse, right? And that's who we're investing in both. And so that's kind of, I'm giving you like a Reader's Digest slang version of our investment thesis, but that's kind of what we do. And so guess what? I'm pretty good at networking, and I'm pretty good at not being afraid to talk to people. I was a founder of a software business. I was a founder of some other things. So I had that commonality, and it was great. And so it's all about trying to get proprietary looks, getting in pole position with founder owner entrepreneurs to get to know them, have them get to know us. Oftentimes I'm the tip of the spear to meet them. I'm certainly not the meat of the firm. The meat of the firm are the deal guys that I work with that are infinitely smarter than I am, and brilliant people, and first in their class at Wharton or first in their class at Stanford, and brilliant guys, right? They're the ones that are going to structure the deal and do the meats and bones of what private equity is. And we're really good at that. But there's also needs someone that needs to be out developing and
building the relationships and managing relationships,
and we get them through traditional, right? We get a lot of investor bankers calls, and we have someone for that. And we have other people like me. I think I was an experiment to begin with at the firm, because firms are looking for, how do we cast a broader net? How do we increase the top of the funnel to get it really tight at the bottom of the funnel? I mean, you still got to get something in the top of the funnel that makes sense. And so if we can have more people that can get things in the top of the funnel and have already established that relationship, that's a positive, right? And so that was an opportunity for me. I'm grateful that the partnership at HGGC saw some value in me and have offered me that opportunity. And I mean this sincerely. I work for the best, most highest level of integrity people I can think of. I mean, Bob Gay, the namesake of the firm, is just, they don't get any better than him, right? And our CEO for a long time was a guy named Gary Crittenden of our firm. And again, they're just amazing human beings that are brilliant and are really good at what they do. And that all of that leadership has permeated our firm. And so everything germinates from Bob Gay and Gary Crittenden and John Huntsman and Steve Young and Rich Lawson and the guys that are the founders of our firm. And so I'm just grateful to be part of that. It makes me a better person. It makes me a better business development officer, just to realize the level of integrity and diligence that we do, and how transparent we are we the best fit for you? And so all those things have made me better at my job. And they're probably leadership to me that they don't even know they're leadership to me. And I mean, they do, because they run our firm, but we have a real leadership style of, like, we value you and we have faith in you. Now do what you're supposed to do, and we're here to help you. And so I just feel lucky every day that I get to do what I get to do.
How closely tied is to, so you played on teams that lost, 3 or 4 games over your time in college.
Yeah.
And obviously we've talked about the great leadership. Clearly there was great talent on the field as well. Tell me about how that translates into the corporate world. It sounds like leadership is unbelievable where you are currently.
Yeah, it is.
But you have to, how important is that talent piece?
So in my opinion, it doesn't get much more important, right? I think we were talking about it today. I mean, how did Cam Ward get to where he is? He was a 0-star recruit. He's the first player picked in the draft. Life and the journey of life is circuitous and can go all different directions. And sometimes you start here and you end up, oh my gosh, at the top of the mountain, right? And other guys that have more talent start in the same place and end up halfway, or don't get past a third, right? And some of those things are luck. Some of those things are bad luck. Some of those things are injuries and poor choices and all those types of things. But I mean, talent goes a long way. And I mean, we value talent. I mean, I think every high school, that's the beauty I tell the kids every year. I know some of you may think differently, but football is the ultimate meritocracy, right? It should be. I mean, that's the goal. I don't think there's anyone on my side that has a coach name on their uniform that says, I'm going to play favorites. I know some parents think that. I've probably been on the other side of that. And probably at the lower level that can happen. But the reality is when you're getting paid a lot of money to coach a team, you are going to try to get the best possible player in the best position. It's not about
paid to win.
What color socks they have, or did they like the same movie as I do, or your mom's really nice, or your family I know. I mean, those are all about relationships and building that. But when it comes to putting talent in the right place to create a winning program, I mean, it doesn't get any more important. And I think the same thing's in the business world. I mean, we have portfolio companies, and they're all run by someone, founded by someone, right? And all those founders have different strengths. Some, the strength of one founder might be 180 to the strength of another founder. And we talk about all the time, oh my gosh, this operator is amazing, right? Or this founder is a great founder, but now that it's grown, maybe he's not the operator anymore. Maybe he's in a different seat to still continue to create value, right? And I think sometimes those decisions take courage and humility and all those things to realize, right? As things grow, you might need to be in a different seat.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a process. I think we're really, really good at communicating that stuff. We're not perfect, but it's life like a marriage, like a friendship, like a coach to a player. Communication goes a long way, right? I mean, you can course correct someone by just saying, hey, look, I know you're the starter, but your body language has really been horrible the last 3 weeks. I know you haven't been playing where you think you have. I still think you got the talent. We got to change some of those things because that's all part of it. And I can see you're not doing the film study we're doing. I don't know if you're discouraged. You're falling off the boat, but let's course correct and get you back on. But yeah, I mean, all those things. And the beauty about it is it's a journey, and you just hopefully just keep getting better till the end.
So we've kind of transitioned into this segment that we call the Ship Talkers segment. Yeah. And these are the experts in their industries. Yeah. And the interesting part about this is that I know that your firm has looked at other companies in the logistics space, and it's evaluated companies in the logistics space. So I want to talk in this segment I want to give some insight to small, medium-sized businesses who are looking to maybe take on a partner or get acquired and start going through that process. It's a big process.
It is.
And I don't know if people realize that. But from your perspective, when you're out in the market, are there generally things that you're looking at? Are there generally things people should be aware of as they're trying to position themselves for an acquisition or a round of funding?
Yeah, I think most definitely. And as soon as I'm going to say one or two things, there's 100 examples of things that aren't that, right? And so we recognize that. I recognize that. You recognize that. I mean, there's lots of ways to get to the top of the mountain, right? And that's the beauty about it. And I just read Steve Jobs' biography by Walter Isaacson, which is awesome, as well as Elon Musk.
I just finished that one.
They're amazing, right? I mean, it's like, how many times was it near death? How many times is it about to fall?
Every time.
All the time. And it's like, you're going from someone that was going to be a blurb in a Wikipedia post to now you're on the cover of Fortune and Time, and you've literally, in his terms, made a dent in the universe, right? You actually did it. And, part of it is thinking you can do it. And that's what Steve did. But sorry.
Tell me what you're like. What are the things? What are the markers that you look for?
Yeah, I mean, we've covered a lot, but leadership's one of them, right? I mean, and you can find that, and also you can find it in the balance sheet. You can find it in your diligence talking to employees. You can find it in retention rate of customers. You can find it in how the company grew and how it was financed, and but there's that obviously, and like I said, under those are tied inexplicitly to other things, right? Just financial prudence is it's important, especially by the time it gets to us, right? I mean, we always talk about we want to invest in quality businesses. There's a lot of quality businesses, right? But we have these different things where we kind of, in our kind of terminology, decide if they're a great business, a good business, quality business. We kind of have all these different monikers. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of things. I mean, we've got a couple operators that, their goal is to $1 million an employee in revenue, right? I'm going to generate 1 million employee in revenue. And that's kind of their KPI, their North Star. They do that. And then, one of those guys who's one of our all-time operators, I just saw him and I interviewed him. I introduced him to a couple founders that we met and are interested in their business. And I told him, I said, Randy, a little over 1 million per employee. He's like, I love that. And they had this immediate thing and they were talking and he's like, I was talking to someone just the other day. Profitability is a choice. It's a choice. I was like, it's super interesting it's a great way to look at it, right? You can choose what's important. Now, look, we've invested in companies that are growing so fast, you're not profitable. And we get that and you can factor that in. But there's, at the end of the day, not too long ago, a couple years ago, I like to say we weren't part of the problem because only we invest in companies that are out of that life cycle of the business. But you got a lot of investors writing really big checks and giving valuations to, I think Jeff Foxworthy, right, was a pretty prophetic guy, and it talked to me like I'm a fifth grader, right? And if I asked a fifth grader, I've got company A that's doing $100 million in revenue, and they're making $20 million, and we think they're worth $240 million, or I've got a company that's going to do $150 million in revenue. They're going to lose $150 million, but they're in the tech space, and if they get everything right, they're going to grow, and that company's worth $2 billion, right? I mean, there's part of you that doesn't feel right? It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
But for a while, there's a lot of years where people, and there still are, and some of it's out of necessity, and I get that, right? And we get that, and really smart people like analysts can factor all that in. But at the end of the day, for a long time, valuations got really crazy. Pre-COVID, COVID, just about.
Yeah.
If you could fog a mirror, you're worth 200 million. If you could actually turn your computer on, that's 300 million, right? And so forth. And I'm being facetious, but my point is there were some valuations that just made no sense, right?
Yeah. And your philosophy is
we're middle market, right?
Okay.
We model. We have to model. We're fiduciaries.
You told me about your process, and
it's fiduciaries of other people's monies.
It's distinct.
We take that.
Yeah, I mean, it's
sincere.
Yeah.
It's a significant issue, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm not that guy, but all the smart guys that I was telling you about, right? The deal team members, the partners, the principals, the really smart people that run our firm, they take all of that to heart. They diligence all of that. We spend a lot of time in management meetings, really getting to know each other, them getting to know us getting to know them. We are not a heavy-handed private equity group, so it's all about trust and relationship. So when we write that check to make the investment, it's built on trust and partnership. And so we're going to come to board meetings. We're going to help. We're going to try to be accretive to the process, but we also want to just empower you to, as a founder, owner, entrepreneur's management team, to continue to build scale, and we're here to help, right? And so that, and look, the life cycle of a business has all different shapes and sizes, and it needs different capital and financing requirements along that life cycle. And I don't know how the venture capital guys do it, because we really can't fail. We're writing big checks, and that's not good. Where it's built into the model, right? In the early stage guys, they know there's a percentage that's just not going to. They're never going to get the money back, and it's weird. I'm a long-term investor, just personally. I'm Warren Buffett, not from a success or a net worth standpoint.
And does Warren Buffett have a piece of the Packers? I mean,
does he?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I'm not sure.
I don't think so. He called me about it, but no, it's like I want to invest in, and then I'm really patient. I'm a good guy. I can invest. I'm like, look, Microsoft, it didn't take a rocket scientist, 10, 20, 15 years ago to understand who they are and what they were. Is this company going away? And they just continue to evolve and change. And they went from a software company to a hardware company to multi-level to multimedia to they're in the cloud. They're the second largest cloud. Is data going anywhere? Data's not going anywhere. We make more data in a day than we did 5 years ago, right? So I'm like, you know what? They pay a dividend. They're growing. I'm like, I'm going to throw a bunch of money in Microsoft.
You're
right?
good.
And you kind of pick and choose, and that's how, but as a personal investor, that's how I do it. And I'm not saying that's the same thing we do as a firm, but we invest and really try to invest in quality businesses that we're aligned.
Yeah.
It's all about alignment with the founder, owner, entrepreneur to continue to scale and grow.
Let me ask you one follow-up question to that. And you have been so generous with your time. I appreciate it. It's been an amazing conversation.
Well, thanks for having me.
I hope you'll come back. I could talk to you
it's great.
Much longer. And
Same here.
There's more stories to tell. And by the way, you're a great storyteller. I know you've heard this before, but it's really fun.
Well, thank you.
Listening. Okay, so you just mentioned how much you dig into leadership teams and get alignment, which I think is extremely important in lots of ways. Alignment as a company, alignment as a team in a company, personal alignment, figuring out what you do really well. Like you figured it out. Like you're a connector. You're aligned with that. You can translate that. You can make money doing that. Tell me if you've ever found yourself in this situation as a firm, a company that on paper looks really good. Numbers are dialed really good. It has an opportunity to sell for a high valuation, like almost a no-brainer on paper, but the management team is a disaster. Do you do that deal or do you walk away from that deal?
Yeah, I don't. One is I don't know if I'm, fully comfortable speaking for the entire firm, but I'll give you my perception and my opinion is that would probably be a no. It's really interesting. Just from an analogy standpoint, through social media, my kids have made a lot of money and have business at social media, so I'm on all the platforms so I can follow them. And there's some interesting information out there, but I stumbled on a relationship doctor the other day who was talking about successful relationships between couples. And, she talked about, there's that fall in love, see these great numbers, whatever that may be from an analogy standpoint. And oh my gosh, it's shiny and it's pretty and it's new and this is amazing. And I'm in lust. I think I'm in love. I'm not sure, but I know I'm in lust. Right. And so I need to fall in love. And some people fall into a situation where haven't really found alignment. And she said, the long successful relationships come with alignment of core principles. Because that part of new and shiny and beautiful and I can't get enough, it's going to find its place in the relationship, but it's no longer going to be the guiding principle. And long-term successful relationships are, how do we want to raise our kids? What's important politically? What's important spiritually? What's important from a belief system? Where do we want to live geographically? How do we want to raise our kids? What do we think about secondary education and primary education? And it sounds crazy because it's not necessarily a business relationship. Those sound kind of like business points, but they're alignment points, right? And her point was the people that have long-term successful relationships are people that align themselves on core principles, right? And it's the same. And when I was listening to that, I thought, this is exactly how we approach it from an investment standpoint, right? Are we aligned on core principles? And we have established core principles that are the guiding lights of our firm. We get together on a yearly basis to review those, to try to live them, to try to solidify them inside the firm and everyone who works there. And a lot of those core principles are about finding alignment with other people, surprisingly, and people within the firm, right? And so that's what guides the firm. And so, I think my short answer with that would be no. Because there's not the alignment that you need for long-term success.
It's such a great answer. And I love the relationship analogy. I've never thought of it that way. It makes perfect sense. Jim Herrmann, the Herminator, Herb,
whatever. I'll take it all.
Which is my favorite.
Take you. Whatever you got. Give me a wave.
I owe you some Mexican food.
Love you.
Hey, where can people find you? Is it hggc.com?
Yeah, hggc.com is where we are as a firm. And we look for quality people to partner with. If anyone's out in the middle market space and looking for a really solid financial sponsor, we'd love to talk to you and take me out of it if somehow I've said something that you don't find kosher on this. especially the herb part.
Her personal endorsement.
But we've got amazing professionals at our firm. I mean that sincerely. I just think the world of HGGC as a quality, unbelievable financial sponsor partner.
Agreed. I've had a chance to work with lots of different investors and firms over the last 18 months, and I'd put you right at the top. Sincerely, if you're out there looking for a partner, try and find a way to work with these guys.
Thank you.
There you go. Jim Herrmann, thank you. Great to see you.
Me.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Know Your Ship podcast presented by eHub. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review.